Tamikaze here with a video on Chevron and looking forward to where we believe Chevron's going to be in the future. This was supposed to be a giant year for energy, and it ended up being the exact opposite because of the COVID-19 virus. So, one thing that I was extremely bullish on in January turned out to be the exact opposite because we had world travel shut down and oil consumption fall basically to nothing. So some things that have been happening is this is the all-time chart on Chevron going back to the 1980s. I just charted some all-time trend lines here just to kind of show you where we're at with Chevron. So you can see every time Chevron dips down, it always bounces back with a high-end mark here of close to 135. So I'm just going to zoom in here. We'll go with the daily first. I got some recent trend lines marked out here, but you could see over the last couple of years it's been trading at 800 and above, and you could see there's some we can actually add another one in here. We'll add a ray here. If we just go across here, we got some pretty good support there. So let me zoom in farther and we can dive into this. So I picked Chevron out of all the energy companies due to their war chest of money and their debt to equity ratio being really well supporting of their future. So they are not in any trouble of going bankrupt, and they can support themselves for years without any revenue, which is never going to happen. They'll always have revenue. So one thing I've been noticing lately is Chevron is near the bottom of its support and has been forming this cup here that I have charted out. And we kind of have a triple bottom here with these two being higher. That could be viewed as a head and then two shoulders with the start of the curling up. So we'll definitely want to watch this and make sure it follows these patterns, but here's what we can kind of look at to see for catalysts coming up. So I just charted out a couple lines here. This green line here is just simply from the top to the bottom, and then I just flipped it over here to the corner with a date here at the end of it. And then I extended it out to their earnings here to show that it actually, if we extend this out completely, it actually equals up with the high point this summer. So that could be a potential target price that we could see by earnings, potentially if what's going to happen happens, and I'll show you that in a second. So this was actually just this line right here that I just brought over here just to see where this date was. So we can actually, that doesn't have anything to do with it, but you could see it's been following this down, and if it gets over that, potentially we could see a breakout here up towards the 92 mark, and then maybe a breakout by October up to 100 as more investors pour in, because it still has a very strong dividend that people still desire. As you can see here, this was the dividend date here, this is earnings, so you can see there was a strong buy movement into dividend, and then there was a sell-off, and then we'll be getting eventually some more buying going into their next dividend. So that's what I wanted to show you with the setup on Chevron, and let's talk about the oil prices now. That is one of the reasons I'm bullish on energy coming up here. So what I have here is a rising collapsing wedge that on oil, typically when you see a rising collapsing wedge, can be seen as bearish, but in this case, we could see a breakout above it, and I'll show you why. Because OPEC, which is the oil petroleum exporting countries pact that controls oil prices and oil production, has been limiting oil production to drive up prices, I am bullish on it because I believe prices are going to go up because we're going to have testing coming out. We're going to have more vaccine news coming out, which is going to drive more travel. We have cruise lines opening up last week, which is also going to drive more consumption. Airlines coming back. So consumption is going to go up, and oil production is going to be limited still because OPEC meeting isn't until December to talk about that. So let's zoom out here and let's look at oil prices the last couple of years. We'll just look at the last 10 years or so. So you can see oil kind of goes in cycles where it goes up, down, and then stabilizes, and then down, up, stabilizes, down, up, and I see a stabilization happening here with a trend towards the all-time downtrend here. And then once we get there, we'll look at where we're at. But I believe oil will stabilize and begin to creep back up towards this point right here. So we'll see it kind of equal up to here, and then right here it'll make a big decision. So in the short term, we're looking for oil. We definitely want to verify this before we go in. I just wanted to show you before something happens so you're not missing out on this. So pay attention to oil here. Pay attention to what happens this month in September. If we see oil go above this and get sustained above this, we could see a big movement in a lot of the energy companies. CVX is my favorite due to their fundamentals and the future outlook. So if you want to play that, you got the middle of the month, September 16th here I marked out, which is the same thing for the tip of the oil right there. So we could see a major breakout here up towards the 100 if it does break above that. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and if you guys have questions, let me know, and I encourage you to do your own research on this as well. Thank you.